Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
If you're looking for more horror outside of the mainstream, look no further than Unsung Horrors, a podcast about underseen horror movies. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica. Every other week, we'll cover a horror movie with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. We'll even give you double feature recommendations to pair with the movies we discuss.
From gothic to shot on video, from slashers to comedies, from giallo to J-horror, we'll cover all the subgenres. So join us as we unearth these hidden gems of horror.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Unsung Horrors, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
And welcome to the Kulturecast. I am your host, Chris Stachiw, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, confidant, and the he-goat himself, Eric Kniss.
God, your introductions of me are just getting more fucked up every episode.
You are my he-goat.
Oh, God, this month is going to be bad for introductions for me. I can just feel it.
Yeah. And we are also joined this week by a good friend of mine and SEO doer extraordinaire, Mr. Phil Mackie.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me, and that's an awesome intro.
I could have called you he-goat number 2.
Nobody wants to be number 2. Come on.
That's fair
yeah,
enough.
that's true. Even as far as he-goat goes, that's even worse, I think.
On this episode of the Kulturecast, we're talking about a film that is widely considered to be one of the most controversial films ever made. A Serbian Film. The film was directed by Srđan Spasojević and stars Srđan Todorović as Miloš and Sergej Trifunović as Vukmir. The IMDb synopsis for the film is: an aging porn star agrees to participate in an art film in order to make a clean break from the business, only to discover that he has been drafted into making a pedophilia and necrophilia-themed snuff film.
Slušaj me pažljivo. Sprema se nešto veliko.
Ti si porno glumac koji želi da zna o čemu se radi u filmu.
Phil, since you're the newcomer to this whole podcasting thing, curious your thoughts, and also you had never seen this film before, but you'd heard about it. So what are your thoughts on the film?
I had heard about it, and some of the more traveled film goers that I used to hang out with told me about this film, and they had asked if I had asked them if I was to see it, and they said, so I couldn't really get a firm response. I did think this was a Gaspar Noé film, just kind of because the motif, I don't know if you guys see that, but it's kind of got that it's like a dark amber sort of film over everything. I don't know. What are your thoughts on kind of what you see, like just starting off?
I would agree. It's very, I mean, if we're talking if it's very similar to Irreversible, yeah, it is. Not only in subject matter, but also the way that it's shot. What about you, Eric? What did you think of the film watching it again? Because this is the second time you've seen it, right?
Yes, this is the second time I've seen this movie. It is definitely less shocking the second time around because you kind of know what to expect, but it doesn't really make it any less like gruesome or hard to watch. There are some sections of this movie that are pretty rough, even when you know they're coming. Yeah, I mean, you guys have already really mentioned the way that it was shot and the sort of the way that it feels definitely lends itself to that. Just the really sort of like harsh, like hyper realistic, but also like kind of stylized like shit. This movie's a rough watch. It's not a movie that I ever thought that I would see again. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, despite the sort of the themes, one thing that I kind of noticed about the plot though is they just find another way to ramp it up. Like, I was taking notes as I go, and about 40 minutes in, I just kind of wrote down, it's like, if you're not really buckled up at this point and you're really ready, like, you probably need to shut it down, like, now. And it just continued to outdo itself, jumping the shark a couple of times. And it was a roller coaster in a lot of senses.
I had seen this film back when I was in college about like 6 years ago, and I watched it just on like a Friday evening because I had heard so much about it. I mean, this film's 7 years old at this point, but it's still kind of spoken about in hushed tones because it's really not a film that I think American audiences, or I would say a casual film goer, is never going to watch this film. A casual film goer should not watch this film.
This film is a marathon of let's see how much you can take.
Srđan Spasojević has said multiple times that there's like meaning to this film, and this is about kind of the torture of the Serbian people and Serbian genocide. And you know what? I can see that because, like you guys have been saying, this film is an endurance test, which how much can you really put up with? I mean, there's parts in this film where children are raped, a woman is raped and murdered at the same time. Multiple women are beaten up or beaten to death. Women are murdered while being forced to perform fellatio. There is graphic violence in this film. I don't think for me, and I don't think for a lot of people who watch this film, I don't think the violence is the reason this film is so disturbing.
Yeah, there's a lot worse.
I agree.
The sexual stuff that takes place in this film is awful.
It's the sexual violence is the stuff that...
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster. You know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week, and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Victimization.
Yeah,
it's really bad. It's really rough.
Going back and watching it a second time, I actually enjoyed it because I wasn't worrying about seeing the shit that I'd already seen the first time. Like
exactly.
the newborn rape or the end. I mean, the end of the film is probably the bleakest ending of a film I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's definitely up there.
If the ending of The Mist is pitch black, this film is like that black dye that like you like can put on stuff and it looks like it's just endless. This film is endlessly black.
Yeah, this is a black hole of for your soul.
Yeah, there is nothing positive that happens in this entire film.
It really ruins your day.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is how else are you to end this black tale that we've already witnessed for the last, hour and a half? I don't see any other sort of way either. It very much continues its tone. At the end of it had me amped though, because you get through it and it's an emotional and sort of psychological roller coaster, and it ends with a very dramatic scene, black, and then just really loud industrial music. And you're just like sitting there scratching your head. But I don't know, it kind of ends the same way. I guess it's consistent.
Yeah, it doesn't try to take a left turn at the end. It's like, yeah, this film is fucking awful. Oh, and by the way, it's not getting any better. And there's even kind of a part at the end where Miloš kind of gets his revenge.
Yeah.
But even then, like, it's a hollow victory.
Yeah, completely hollow. It doesn't matter. This is, this movie is basically like you're just watching somebody's life just ruined.
Yeah.
Correct.
Completely.
So Miloš is a retired porn star who is drawn back in by this art director. He's like a independent pornographer that is an art director that does this artistic, artsy style porn, and he wants to cast Miloš because Miloš has a big dick that he can keep hard at all times. Words I never thought I would say on this podcast, but there you go.
The way that they sort of set up Miloš is like he's basically like the Ron Jeremy of like Serbian porn. So he's like hyper famous, like went out, kind of at the top of his game, and then
found a wife.
Yeah, he like has a family now. He has a wife and a kid, and he's been out of the porn game for X amount of time or whatever. But at the beginning of the movie, you can sort of tell that he's like not happy, like one of the first scenes of the movie, it's like him watching porn of himself. And he's just like, sitting on the couch drinking and just like watching himself like fuck these chicks. Like, and he does it several times throughout the movie, so you could tell that he's like sort of longing for the glory days type of shit,
I didn't actually get that because the scene with his wife where his wife's like, I want you to degrade me the way you degraded the porn stars. He was like, I felt like he never wanted to get back involved with pornography because of like what it did to him, like mentally.
I think that whole scene with him and his wife is really like, you don't want to take your work home with you type of situation. So it's like, he's never treated his wife like that because that's his wife, and he doesn't want to treat her the same way that he treated all of these porn stars for years and years and years or whatever, because like she is his wife and she means something to him. And he's like, that's not,
One thing that I kind of noted though is, we're talking about some of the things that happen in this movie, the kind of the grotesque scenes and everything, but the movie does really, really make a good effort to kind of draw you into their world. And it's not just, there's a lot of mutilation and everything like that occupies a good amount of time. But I guess it should be stressed like, yeah, they were creating a dynamic here, and it definitely showed conflict. I think that's what you guys were kind of talking about. It's like maybe he wants to get in and maybe he's all about his family life, and it just really set a backdrop to kind of let it all fall apart.
Well, and that's the thing about this film, right? Like, I had heard before I watched this film, nothing but like, this film's fucked up. This film's fucked up. Like, I heard nothing. I would rather watch this film in some respects over like Hostel. Because for me, Hostel, the plot line is practically non-existent. Like, Hostel exists to just be like, these people are being tortured and then they get their comeuppance. Like, this film, I feel like it's actually trying to give us an interesting character study on Miloš. And obviously using him as like an analog for like the Serbian people, as it were. But it's actually, like you said, Phil, it's actually trying to tell like an interesting story about a character who's very much conflicted about what he is doing like in his life. And like, cause clearly like his family needs money and he has to go and like do this to make money. And they never say how much money, but you get the sense that if he goes and does this film for Vukmir, he'll be set for life. He says it multiple times that like his family will be set for life and they'll never have to worry about money again.
Yeah, he's definitely a family man now, and like that's seems to be what he cares about more than anything else. So they did a good job in this movie, even with how fucked this movie is, because we literally cannot stress enough like how fucked this movie is, of making you actually like care about the characters. Like,
exactly.
It makes you care about Miloš. It makes you care about his family. And that just makes what happens in this movie way worse. And so they definitely do a good job.
Miloš in the film also like tries to leave.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
like
absolutely.
the second that shit starts to get weird, he's like, yeah, I'm not into this anymore. I'm out.
I'm not into beating up women. I'm not into having children watch me rape their mother. Like,
he's like, I don't like this. I'm out.
At that point in the movie, it really harkened me back to a Rockstar game back in the day, Manhunt. And it turned into the pornographic version of Manhunt in some weird way. And it just got way more real at that point. And I think that was another one of those sort of advent moments in the film. And it's just like, okay, we've ascended another plateau. It's going further up or lower, I suppose.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're right. In that scene where Miloš meets with Vukmir and he's like, look, I'm leaving. That is where the film takes the hard right turn. That, like, every other scene in the film is bad, but that is where the film goes farther than I think that scene, obviously they don't show it, but that is the worst thing that happens in the entire film.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. I mean, it could be one of the worst things that has ever happened in the history of film.
I mean, it doesn't show it, thankfully, but one of the characters...
Do you love movies? So do I. What's up, y'all? It's KB, and I love movies. Inviting you to listen to The Conversation, a film podcast where passion meets perspective and opinion. From the old school to the new, I invite a guest on to discuss the movies that thrill us, challenge us, break our hearts, or even blow our minds. There's always new episodes dropping wherever you get your podcasts. So join the conversation. We don't just watch movies. We love talking about them too. The Conversation with KB Loves Movies, a part of Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
The audio commentary. It's a dying art form, but here at One Track Mind, I, your wonky yet affable host Ryan Luis Rodriguez, analyze film through the prism of these embryonic forms of podcasting, one audio commentary at a time. Masterpieces, crapster pieces, live action, animation, cult classics, films literally no one has ever heard of. No track is too small and no track is too big. Join me and my guests from the entertainment world as we keep these features alive every other Tuesday. Hey, who else is going to discuss Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey one week and Citizen Kane the next? Us, that's who. Sure, you have to put up with my voice, but there's a certain give and take in this industry. That's One Track Mind, part of the Someone's Favorite Productions family and available wherever you get your podcasts.
In the film rapes a newborn child.
Yeah.
A baby. They deliver the child and then they rape the child.
In front of the mother.
Yes.
And it's very shocking. And then you kind of forget that, maybe this movie's an allegory, or maybe you have characters within the movie that you actually care about at that moment, because it's just like, we're talking about really serious stuff here. And I think at that point is when I noted, it's like, yeah, abandon ship if you're not ready, because it was leading up to it. And
yeah, like everything up until that part is pretty, like, I would say it's like pretty American torture porn level. Like, it's not even really bad. Like,
it's
really
just like
not.
weird. Yeah,
right.
It's, like, there's no like hardcore violence or anything like really up to that point.
It's like what Americans expect from foreign film is what is been in the film up until that point.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's definitely weird, and they're definitely like building up like the tension up into that point, but then it just goes completely off the rails and just keeps going. I mean, the sequence after he leaves and then he wakes up in his apartment and 3 days have gone by.
Yep.
Then, that's when everything just goes to hell. Literally everything.
So then Miloš is drugged and then forced to decapitate and rape a woman. He rapes a woman and then decapitates her with a machete, and then he's raped, and then his friend, a current working porn star, is then like has the shit beaten out of her and is killed by being suffocated while sucking a dude's dick.
Sounds about right.
And then Miloš threatens to cut his dick off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he's like drugged, and it's like a weird combination of like speed and like bull Viagra, basically. So it's like I don't know. He just becomes this like crazed fuck machine, basically.
That is like super susceptible to manipulation.
Yeah, he's just like this weird, like mindless, unstoppable. It's like a maniac cop, but instead of a cop, it's his dick. So it's maniac cock.
There you go.
It's just the film itself is just a real. Yes. It's not a fun movie to watch. And I wasn't expecting it to be. And someone who goes into it shouldn't expect it to be. But the issue I have with this film is, and it's kind of with all these controversial films, the controversial stuff is like 5-10 minutes total in runtime. And this film isn't that boring, but this is kind of a boring movie.
Like, it takes like 45 minutes
to get going.
And I mean, the setup... But arguably, it's the setup of this movie that makes what happens in this movie so awful, because they are like really sort of like, they develop the character of Miloš, they introduce you to his family multiple times and things like that. And they sort of like give you a sense of the dynamic between, the characters and Miloš and his family and everything like that. And that just makes what happens to Miloš and, subsequently his family way worse than like if they wouldn't have spent the time to like develop the characters like they did.
Yeah, and that goes back, maybe the first 1/3, relatively tame, kind of maybe American audience rated R as far as violence. And then, yeah, but they definitely wanted you to care. Since we're talking characters a little bit, one character that kind of stood out was Vukmir, and just how clearly he was the devil, when the devil hands you a contract. And I just thought it was a funny thing, the devil incarnate, like, this is a metaphor, obviously, but the guy, has a lot of money in a Western European sort of, country where a lot of the gangsters are the ones that control that sort of wealth and power, and he shows up with a contract at your doorstep. And in a way, it could almost be like a cautionary tale. Don't make a deal with the devil kind of thing. If there was something to draw from all of this, that is.
No.
Well, I think there is something to draw from all of this, but we're going to take a commercial break and we'll talk about that when we get back. Movies have become a portal to a vast and growing pop culture universe, but you don't need to go over the rainbow to get your pop culture fix. Just head to Rainbow Comics, Cards, and Collectibles. They are your one-stop shop for comics, toys, posters, games, and more. Not a pop culture nerd? No problem. They have something for everyone, including a wide array of sports cards, collectible card games, even memorabilia. Stop by one of their 2 locations today. The flagship location at 3310 South Minnesota Avenue, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, or their newest location at 1501 Pine Lake Road, Suite 17, Lincoln, Nebraska. Most importantly, don't forget to add them on Facebook for pop culture news, weekly live videos, and special events.
Here's what some people are saying about the Projection Booth podcast.
Week after week, I'm mesmerized by the focus given great films and questionable films alike. But every episode is a learning and entertaining experience.
This is hands down the best movie podcast. They cover so many different genres across so many years, from obscure movies to blockbusters.
If there's only one podcast about movies and cinema that you listen to, make it this one.
The Projection Booth Podcast, with new episodes available every week at projectionboothpodcast.com.
We are back and we are talking about a Serbian film, so let's kind of dig into the message of this film, because Phil mentioned it a little bit before the break, but from what I've read and all the analysis, you have to, this film requires you to go and read about like Serbian genocide and like how awful it is to be live in Serbia and how like fucked up a country Serbia is. The message in the film with Vukmir's character, according to the director, is that Vukmir is the Serbian government, and that the Serbian government is and has been like complicit in the exploitation and repression of the Serbian people, and that Miloš's character is the Serbian people, and that's kind of like that whole idea. And there's other representations as well, and it's just
Yeah, I just I don't know anything about Serbia or the Serbian government, and watching this movie made me want to know less about, not more. So I don't know. I mean, yeah.
I think that symbology is lost on me too. So I get you, Eric, because you're kind of wrapped up in all of what's going on in the film itself, and then
I mean, you have to understand, in the late 80s, early 90s, I mean, there was mass genocide in Serbia. So like this is the country, like this, where this country's history is really hard for Americans to understand.
Completely.
And that really goes for a lot of European history because of how large the United States is and how kind of, I don't know, I was in Europe over the summer, and I feel like as Americans, we have a hard time understanding the size of Europe, and Europeans have a hard time understanding the size of the United States. I mean, in Europe, you can drive 5 hours and be in another country. In the States, certain states, like my home state of Texas, you can drive 10 hours and not even be out of the state. I mean, so... You know, it's hard for us to really understand like mass genocide. And, you know, everyone always talks about government corruption in the United States. And the government is obviously, whatever party you look at, the government is or isn't corrupt. But there's a level of corruption there regardless. But I mean, in these European countries, the corruption is like rampant. And so like the whole idea here that this film is standing in for the way the Serbian people have been treated and what it's like to have been a Serbian like person who lives in Serbia. I think that's an interesting thing and a way to look at this film. I also feel like, and this is just me being a cynic, maybe the director, Spasojević, said that just to give himself an out, right?
That sounds very plausible.
You know what I mean?
To just like, I'm going to make this the most fucked up thing ever, but here's my excuse for why I did it. Like,
right. It's like Eli Roth saying, oh yeah, Hostel's actually about the Negro League baseball. Like, you know, it's like, I mean, obviously that's a huge stretch. And this, I don't really feel like a Serbian film being about like Serbian genocide and the plight of the Serbian people. I don't really feel like that's much of a stretch.
No.
Me personally. But it is, the film itself is so rough and so like unsettling and upsetting that like you almost don't even want to take him seriously, that he's trying to give a message, right? Like that's the ultimate double-edged sword here, right? Is that with a film this upsetting and this unsettling, like there's a chance that I honestly don't even take it seriously.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you almost have to take it. You almost have to take this movie less seriously than you would almost any other movie just to be able to stomach this movie.
Well, that's the problem, right? Like, you can't show this film in a film class at college.
No, especially now.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, you might have been able to get away with something like that, you know, 5-10 years ago or something like that. But now, oh my God, if you fucking showed this, you know, in a film class, you would be fired. You would never teach again. You would be a pariah, basically. This is like, I mean, I don't know. Whatever this movie is saying about Serbia and the Serbian government and the way that it treats its people, I can totally understand that. I can even see totally how that would correlate. But the fact remains is that me, who knows nothing about the plight of the Serbian people and knows next to nothing about the Serbian genocide and the corruption of the Serbian government, I am not compelled to learn about that stuff by watching this movie. I'm not compelled to understand that any more than I currently do by watching this movie. I am compelled to wash my brain out with bleach.
Yeah.
So, you know, whatever the true underlying meaning of this movie is, if there is any, really, it doesn't make up for, you know, the really graphic and disturbing shit that happens in this movie, you know?
Yeah, I agree. So funny, we just spoke about classrooms a moment ago. And when I was in school, I took mass communication law. And I think one of the reasons, like one of the themes that we just spoke about is the subject matter is so dark, you have to kind of step back from it almost. And there's this quote, Miller versus California, that people use as a litmus test for pornography. And these guys in the 1950s wrote this line, and it says, the dominant theme taken as a whole appeals to the prurient interest. And when we talk about it, I think the overlying theme of this is not about the character development that we get in the first 40 minutes, right? It's very much the grander body of it is sort of that current interest. And I think that's why we're having trouble with, say, The Plight, or, I mean, just because the overwhelming body of work is, it's brutal.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. I mean, it's really hard to take something like this seriously, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But going back to that sort of classroom approach to this, do you think in some way this movie kind of should exist or needs to exist, or is justified in its sort of staunch sort of middle finger to censorship? Or is there some artistic sort of, because, you can almost take a scholarly view of it. Where does this thing place in the universe of films? And it's like, what redeeming qualities do you guys think this film has, if any? Yeah, I mean, that's also an option too.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is not a bad movie.
No.
It's not. It's not a bad movie. I've seen movies very recently, in fact, that I liked a whole lot less than I like this movie, which is not to say that I like this movie because I don't like it. I mean, I don't know. That's a tough thing to say. Like, I can appreciate that this is at a very basic level, a well-made and pretty well thought out and executed movie. Like, forget the subject matter, forget forget all the violence and the sexual violence and everything that happens in this movie. The plot makes sense. The character development is there. There's a beginning. There's a clear beginning, turning point, climax to the movie. Even though this is a super fucking downer of a movie, it's almost better that it's like that than, it would be if there was a happy ending. I've talked to you, Chris, about this all the time, how I fucking hate it when movies go down this crazy black hole and then somehow your main character or main characters come out the other side and it's like this happy ending.
And sometimes that works in a film, but I mean, in this film, it doesn't work at all. Like, there's no way this film had a happy ending.
We've gone too far.
Yeah, there's no way that this film is going to have a happy ending.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I mean, it's a well-made movie.
But I don't know. I don't that doesn't really answer Phil's question though, right? Like, just because the movie's well made doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to exist.
Why not? Of course. I think, of course, a movie like this is going to exist. And I think a movie like this should exist because, the follow-up question would be if movies like this should exist or are allowed to exist, where do we stop? Where do we draw the line? Where do we say...
At Serbian Film.
That's too far.
I feel like for me, this is very much one of those adventures that it's really far into the black hole. And it's like, I'm good stopping here. You can let me off at this ride. However,
exactly.
I think I agree with everything you said, Eric. I think there were some artistic elements and there were some technical elements that make this movie good, aside from the subject matter. And then from a sort of just cultural landmark sort of marker kind of point, it of course it exists,
Yeah, it has to exist. Movies like this have to exist. Whether or not they're good, whether or not they serve a greater purpose, I think the greater purpose that they serve is existing in the first place. Because if movies like this don't exist, then we don't have the conversation about, about this. We don't have the conversation about, where to draw the line. We don't have the conversation about, what's okay to put into film and what's not okay. I mean, I think honestly, we need more movies. We need more movies like this. Now, I don't want that to sound like I want to watch a bunch of movies where babies get raped and, horrible things happen to families and shit like that. Because I don't. I really don't. I don't want to watch this movie again. I didn't want to watch it the second time. But I want things that are different. I want things that push that line further. I want us to be more open-minded to different forms of art, whether that's in movies or if it's in anything, you know? And I mean, I don't know. The thing that makes this movie okay is that it's a film, and this shit didn't actually happen. And we can all walk away from this going, this isn't real. This is just a movie. You know, all of these people are fine. You know, like this isn't.
You're telling yourself it's only a movie.
Yeah, it's only a movie.
Well, I mean, for me, and this is something that you guys have kind of saying, like, the ultimate takeaway from a film like this is kind of like Phil said, you have to wonder, where does the line stop for people? And that's subjective for everyone, right? Like Phil said, this is probably the end of the line for Phil. Like, I'm assuming that this is about as controversial a film and upsetting a film as you want to watch, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is easily the most... It's definitely one of the top threes as far as upsetting and controversial in this category. So
yeah. And then, like Eric said, a film like this allows us to kind of reflect inwardly on what we perceive individually as art. And this is art. I mean, this film is art. Someone put an artistic flair on this film. They spent their time and money and effort making this film, and so it's not. It has artistic qualities to it. There's a lot of time and effort put into the way shots are done, the lighting, the script. Everything about this film is really well done. Again, but the issue is like the subject matter is so off-putting for a lot of people. I mean, everyone. I would say if you don't find the subject matter of this film off-putting, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, then we need to have another conversation about the medication that you need to be on. But
or what you find upsetting. I feel like for me, and we've talked about the scene with the baby being raped, the ending of this film for me is the most upsetting part.
Yeah, me too. 100%.
Because not only does Miloš rape his son, like a 6-year-old child, anally rapes his son while his brother is raping his wife, then his brother rapes his son while he rapes his wife, right? Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, you get what could be one of the greatest scenes of revenge in a film, but obviously it's sandwiched in between all of this just absurdity that it kind of gets overlooked. He rams his dick into a guy's eye socket.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that is the hardest dick probably ever.
And that's how you dispatch a villain, you know? After all you've been through, I think that's the only logical out, right?
Yeah, skull fucking someone to death. And so, you know, and then you get the proper ending, the way the film ends, after Miloš's family has essentially been through hell and back with him, being raped by him. And Vukmir says a one big happy family, which I think is just, oh my God, it's just so fucked up.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Yeah, and Miloš's brother gets murdered by his wife. Mm-hmm. Miloš and his family kill themselves. They lie together on a bed, and Miloš shoots through the three of them with a gun. And then, as if that's not bad enough, obviously these characters have been through enough and now they're dead. I think that the coda for this film, the final little twist of the knife, is probably the worst part of the film. Mm-hmm. Because then a new film crew shows up in his house after they're all dead, and they rape their corpses.
Yep.
And they start with his little son, because they say, start with the little one.
Correct.
Yep.
I feel like, for me, the film had me up until that point. And obviously that's the end of the film. But I feel like that is a little too far. Like that's where I kind of draw the line. I'm like, I applaud Spasojević for really going for it. I mean, that's going for it, right? Like we can all agree that he's really going for it there at the end.
Yeah, you gotta really rack your brain to go, okay, how can we take this and make it even more fucked up?
How can we dial this up past the terribleness? Oh, a crew comes in and rapes their corpses.
You know, I'm gonna be one of the bully pundits on the top channel, and I'm gonna say, Chris, I wholeheartedly disagree. He had to make it end that way. He had no choice. He had to end with fireworks. That's how I feel. It was just like. This movie has hit so many plateaus and it keeps climbing, and that's just another one in my book where it's like you thought it was over, you know, they're all dead, thank God, because watching their plight has made me feel so icky for the last bit. And you thought it was over, and it's just like, no, come on. And it is a twist of the night. But I was a fan of the ending just because, again, I felt like it was just consistent. It's like, there's going to be more. We're giving you more.
Yeah. Well, and it's not that I'm not a fan of the ending, but like, it's about as far as I'm willing to go. Like you said, Phil, like that's where I'm like, okay, all right. Like, I applaud him for going that far. You really have to. And like you said, it keeps in tone. It's tonally in line with the rest of the film. But that doesn't make it any less just like awful.
Yeah. This movie definitely, every time you think that it's not going to get any worse, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse all the way to the end of the movie. And then it ends and it leaves you with the worst taste in your mouth that you could possibly have. And that's got to be what he wants. I mean, Phil, you keep saying it and you're 100% right that this film is just constantly outdoing itself over and over and over again. The last, 40 minutes of the movie is just, how can we take it further? How can we take it further? And you're right. It had to end. It had to end the way that it did. Because if it just ended with them all dying, then it's almost too merciful for the story that we just, went through. It's that in and of itself would almost be a happy ending for this family, is that they finally have some peace. But no, it's not over for them, even though they're dead. So
do we think that the director's intent was for it to be sort of this grueling endurance test?
It had to be.
We talked about, yeah, exactly. I don't see another kind of solution. I mean, I feel like that's part of the intent.
Yeah, you don't make a movie like this without making a movie like this on purpose.
Yeah,
it's there. We've already mentioned Irreversible. Irreversible has, also one of like the most brutal rape sequences in a movie ever, but it's only that one sequence. The rest of the movie is a pretty straightforward, like, it's hardcore and it's gory, but it's a revenge movie. Like, it has you, I don't know. It's almost like the whole revenge aspect of that movie almost makes it so that all of that horrible stuff that the main characters do is justified because of what happens to her. And this movie is sort of the opposite of that. It's nothing. It just gets worse and worse and worse, and there's no justification for any of it. It's just it's unrelenting,
and there's no moral bargaining that the film that you just described does. This is just kind of, we're moving, we're going, the train is loaded. So
I don't know. It's hard to describe it. It's really more of just like this feeling of just like hopelessness that just gets worse as the movie goes on. It sucks all of the hope that you have for this movie to go in a better direction, or for Miloš to like somehow come out of this okay, just gets, it's all gone. The ending of this movie leaves you so completely empty and devoid of all hope that it's super duper effective. I mean, it's one of those movies where it's hard to watch, but it's also hard for me to sit here and talk about it. Like, it's very, very effective.
And that's why I think, for me, it's the most controversial film I've ever seen. It's the most upsetting film I've ever seen.
Yeah.
For me personally. And I was kind of curious, before we wrap this up, for Phil and Eric, where does this rank in your kind of lexicon of controversial films? Starting with you, Phil.
Yeah, so I kind of anticipated this question, and thinking back, I did watch Cannibal Holocaust in college. The movie was not great by anything, but the fact that the animals actually died make this, that's not very cool. There was just gruesome animal killing, and I'm a carnivore. I'd prefer to be peacefully unaware of what goes into tonight's dinner at times, but
Cannibal Holocaust is also boring as fuck.
It was not a good film.
Cannibal Holocaust is a very boring film, and I love that film, but it is not. I mean, this film, at least like the last hour of this film, there's stuff going on. But Cannibal Holocaust, for most of the film, is just plotting.
I don't remember any of the plot line except for the scenes that I was just describing. So, yeah, and we said it earlier. The good thing about a Serbian film is it is fiction, and it makes you feel icky, but it also kind of makes you wonder where you stand as far as art and cinema and all of these things. So you don't get that sort of insight from Cannibal Holocaust.
What about you, Eric? Where does this rank in your lexicon of controversial films?
Oh, this is pretty high up there. I have run the gambit a few years ago. A few years ago when I watched this movie, I basically just like over the course of like a month or two was sort of doing what we were kind of talking about earlier with sort of like seeing where your limits are, and movies like this have to exist in order for us to be able to like draw a line and say, you know, this is where you know, art doesn't become art anymore. And sort of, a few years ago, sort of like went on like almost like a personal cinematic, like journey to like find out like where the line is, and watched a lot of movies like this and a lot of movies that we're talking about, either on, you know, the podcast or on the site this month and everything like that. And this movie is one of only a handful of movies that really stood out to me as like being something that I never want to see again. I don't know. I mean, honestly, to me, like you said, you love Cannibal.
Hello, filthy movie lovers. My name is Gentry Austin.
And I'm Casey Scott.
And we're the hosts of the Sin Syndicate, film podcast for something weirdos, anti-criterion bros, and Joseph Sarno aficionados. Join us semi-weekly as we peer into the adults-only theaters and sticky-floored cinemas of the golden age of sexploitation, when the morals were loose, the laws were murky, and the intercourse was all simulated. Find us now on the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Holocaust. I love Cannibal Holocaust too. I think Cannibal Holocaust is great and also like hilarious at times, but like still fucked up. I mean, I don't know. I think this movie might be the line for me. This is about as fucked up as I, you know, really want to get. I mean, you know, short of watching like an actual snuff film of, you know, like, you know, people, you know, being murdered or whatever. This is, I think this is the limit to the amount of this kind of art that I can handle.
For me, this is the line.
Yeah. And I think it's not even because of like the actual acts and the violence that happen in the movie. It's really like the emotional like trauma that it causes, like to the characters and then subsequently to you viewing all of this happening to these people.
They put in a lot of time and effort into giving you a reason to care about these characters.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
a film like Cannibal Holocaust doesn't really do that.
No. Yeah, most films that are like this, who gives a fuck about the characters because they're all going to die anyways. I mean, you and me are huge horror fans, and I can watch a fucking horror movie, you know, where everybody fucking dies in terrible, gruesome ways all day long. You know, I'll fucking watch anything like that anytime. But it's like the emotional, just it's the soul suckingness that this movie has, and movies like this movie that are just way worse than any sort of like physical violence.
Yeah. This is the line. This is definitely the line for me. So
yeah,
I'm glad we're kind of all in agreement
yeah.
on where the line is.
Yeah.
So starting with you, Phil, what would you give this film out of 5?
Oh man.
That's a really loaded question.
I know.
Because it's like
loaded. Yeah, I don't want to condone anything that happened in this film, and I think we can agree that nobody here condones any of that. And I don't want to, on merits unrelated to the subject matter, this movie was good, as we have said. You know what I mean? It does draw you in. It does make you care, and there is a storyline. For that reason, I'll give it a 375 because I like that number. This movie's really tough to gauge, guys. I think that's really, and you're not going to encounter many movies like this. And as we said, even for a hardened cinema veteran who's used to watching horror flicks where protagonists die, this movie's hard to watch. So in light of all that, I'm going to give it a 3.75. Not to say I didn't enjoy it. There's redeeming qualities, but 3.7.
So Eric, what would you rate this film? A film that you probably never thought you'd ever have to watch again.
Yeah, a film that I actively told myself I would never watch again. I don't know. Rewatching it the second time, it definitely made it so that I could watch it a little bit more objectively, just because it takes the initial shock out of it, because I already know about the ending. I already know about, the baby rape. I'm mentally in the back of my mind prepared for all of this stuff. And so I can sort of look at this movie from a little bit more of a character development and, storytelling and, movie making from those aspects of it. And I mean, on an effectiveness level, for what this movie is trying to do, it's a 5. I can't imagine somebody watching this movie and not being affected by it at all. Like we said, if this isn't your threshold, then I'm worried about what your threshold is. I mean, from a filmmaking standpoint, yeah, I would have to agree. It's probably in the, I don't know. I would give this movie a 3.5 or a 4. So 3.75, I guess, is a decent number. It's a well-made movie, but it's not a movie that you're going to like. And it definitely has important things to say. Even I said, I know nothing about the plight of the Serbian people and the genocide and, the corruption in the Serbian government. And I can totally see where all of those themes would come into this movie. But even if you know nothing about that stuff, what this movie has to say about art and your own appreciation for it is important. So, I don't know. I would give it maybe a 3.5 or a 4 out of 5. Yeah.
For me, I think I'm in the same boat as you guys. From this is art standpoint, probably a 4. But, the subject matter of the film is so upsetting, and it is such a hard pill to swallow. And it is it's a film that really just tests one's limits, moral and emotional limits. When you walk away from this film, you kind of you need to have something to brighten your day because it's so just depressing.
Yeah. Get ready to watch a lot of cartoons after you watch this movie because you're going to need it.
I watch stand-up comedy immediately because, it's just you got to transition. I agree.
And I watched it late at night, which doesn't help.
Yeah.
So, but it's a film that really is not something that a lot of people are going to enjoy. So I cannot in good conscience suggest anyone watch this film.
No.
Who is this movie for? Exactly.
Right. I think it's for people that want to watch something that they've never seen before.
Yeah. If you are ready to test your limits and actually try and appreciate something for the art of it, then you can try this movie out. But I would never tell somebody you have to watch this movie. I wouldn't wish this movie on anybody.
What do you think the film has on Rotten Tomatoes?
Oh, I can't even begin to imagine.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw a number, right? I'm going to say 63. It's going to be pretty divisive. It's not going to be high up there.
I would probably agree. Yeah, maybe in the 50s or 60s.
45.
Yep. Yeah.
45%.
Most people are they're getting past the subject matter is impossible for a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of the critics kind of echo that they really could not get past the subject matter, and frankly, I can't blame them.
No,
I mean I understand.
Yep.
It takes a lot to get past the subject matter for sure. So.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna take another break and play a preview for next week's show.
For thousands of generations, the gunslingers were knights, sworn to protect us from the coming of the dark.
these visions, as you call them.
What do you see?
I see a tower, the man in black, and the gunslinger.
They're just dreams. They're not real, Jake.
There's another world out there. I know there is. Whoa.
Who are you?
It's you. You're a gunslinger, right?
There are no gunslingers. Not anymore.
Why does the man in black want to destroy the tower?
The tower protects both our worlds. If it falls, hell will be unleashed.
He's like the devil, isn't he?
No, he's worse.
You can't stop what's coming. Death always wins.
Your world might be gone, but mine isn't. If you let that tower fall, billions of people die.
Do they have guns and bullets in your world?
You're gonna like Earth a lot.
All right, let's go.
You clawing your way out of the darkness? Did you tell the kid whoever walks with you dies by my hand?
I will kill him for both of us. I do not aim at my hand. He who aims with his hand has forgotten the face of his father. I aim with my eye. I do not shoot with my hand. I shoot with my mind. I do not kill with my gun. I kill with my heart.
That's right. Later this week, we'll be back talking about The Dark Tower, a film 10 years in the making.
Ugh, can't wait for that.
Yeah, I bet you can't wait. You're chomping at the bit.
Oh, God.
Mr. Mackie, what have you been up to just in general?
Other than helping Culture Shock with their SEO efforts, you mean? No,
Yeah.
I've been
Nod.
I've been working on that and working on getting clients for my new digital marketing agency. Other than that, hopping on Overwatch and PUBG. That's been what's going down.
Nice.
And where can people find you if they want help with your SEO?
Yeah, my new domain's launching soon, and it's topsaildigital.com. So thank you for that, Chris. Topsail, SAIL, as in a boat, because we're going on an adventure together.
I really love how you have to clarify how to spell your website, just like I have to clarify how to spell Culture Shock.
Yes, that is Culture Shock with a K.
That's Culture Shock with a K. What about you, my intrepid co-host? What have you been up to?
Trolling the internet, looking for ways to unbury myself from this hole of horrid films that I have to watch this month. After watching this movie, I'm pretty sure my dick has not worked since watching it. So it's.
I'm glad that we watched it though.
I am. I'm glad. I'm glad I watched it again, and now I really know that I never need to watch it again. But it's like, watching it the second time definitely helped take the shock out of it, but it definitely didn't take the soul sucking out of it at all. Still playing some stuff. We got a tour coming up with Wovoka at the end of September. So if you're on the west coast of the U.S. and you want to come and get your eardrums blasted and get drunk with us or whatever, come and say hi. We'll have the dates on our, Facebook and Bandcamp and whatever. If you want to say hi to me, you can say hi on Twitter and on Instagram at Tycho Magnetics. I post shit, intermittently. I still haven't gotten any responses for my call for a Trust a Fungus tattoo design. I need it in my life. I want to make this a reality. Somebody needs to help me. So if you or somebody wants to throw down the gauntlet, I will accept the challenge.
And if you or someone has mesothelioma. That's what it sounded like to me.
Oh, God damn it, you're right.
Thank you so much, Phil, for joining us for your inaugural crack at a Culture cast. It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me along for this for this ride. It was a ride.
Yeah.
Certainly.
God, this is your first one, and you had to fucking watch this movie. Jeez, man.
Hell of a movie to start with.
Yeah, exactly. Everything else is child's play at this point. This is big leagues, guys.
Yeah.
And please head on over to cultureshock.com where you can find out more information about today's episode. You'll find links over to iTunes where you can rate and review the show, and to Patreon where you can kick a couple dollars our way. Donors get access to unreleased episodes, DVDs, and a chance to guest co-host a Kulturecast. If you want to follow me, I am at CultureStash on Twitter, and the website is at Kultureshock. Big thanks as always to Eric and his bandmates over at Wovoka for allowing us to use their song Lament as the intro music for the Kulturecast, and my good friend Da Decipher for our outro song, Two Step.
Posted with the crew. You know how we do, I'm just two-step, drink in my right hand, phone in my other hand, getting to the money, oh man, two-step, posted with the crew, yeah, you know how we do,
hey, two-stepping, know what I'm saying, 1, 2, 1, 2, Benjamin, aka the Black T, you know what I'm saying, catch me with my crew every day, two-step, phone in my other hand, like, hello? Oh, get into the money, man. Yeah.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and I, we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Dev Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production Podcast Network. We hope to see you online.